Welcome to episode 30 of ECTEL Bytes. It is the second show for 2025, so thank you so much for joining us. The show is a production of the Eastern Caribbean Telecommunications Authority, and I'm your host, Coretta Cook-Straws, ECTEL's Communications and Media Relations Manager. Just in case we have any first-time viewers, this platform was set up to provide you with information about developments taking place in electronic communications by the Directorate and the like-minded organizations. On this episode, our guests are no strangers to ECTEL Bytes. They are Ms. Sandra Jones, the Universal Service Fund Administrator at the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, or the NTRC, in Saint Lucia, and her colleague, Ms. Natalia Cassius, Universal Service Fund Office Project Assistant. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Can I call you Sandra and Toya?
Sure.
Awesome. Okay, so Sandra, I'm going to start off with you. We have had this conversation, as I mentioned before, you have been here, but it's important to keep putting it out there because there might still be persons who are not familiar with what you do. So first, tell us, what is the Universal Service Fund and why should the public care about it?
Okay, so thanks again for having us. So the NTRC Universal Service Fund is actually a regulatory initiative. It was established under the Telecommunications Act of 2000. It is to ensure equitable access to telecommunication services throughout Saint Lucia. It is managed by the NTRC. The fund focuses on expanding connectivity to the underserved areas and including communities and institutions. In terms of the objectives of the fund provides public voice telephony. And when I say that, I mean payphones. Presently, we do not, well, maybe very few of them, but one of our first projects were the payphones project, where we implemented or installed, I should say, at least 15 payphones around the island. And then there is the internet access and modern telecommunication services, and that's in schools and healthcare facilities and libraries and community access centers. And that includes marginalized groups like the vulnerable, the differently abled persons as well, vulnerable persons throughout the Saint Lucia. We also subsidize projects and bridge the digital divide, particularly in rural and low-income areas. In terms of funding for the Universal Service Fund, our main source of funding comes from contribution, a yearly contribution, according to the Act, from the service providers. So as you know, in Saint Lucia, we have two main service providers, that is Flow Saint Lucia and Digicel Saint Lucia Limited. Right? Our projects normally have a subsidy period of 5 years. So they run for a 5-year period once implemented and executed. Why you should care? You should care because since 2010, the USFO implemented 17 projects throughout Saint Lucia. That is in addition to initiatives which Ms. Cassius will speak about in depth, yes. So we're working at bridging the digital divide, that is. We are working towards education and innovation. How are we doing that? By developing our e-learning infrastructure. That's tech training, for example. We've had training in robotics and coding over the years, yes. Economic and social development. By saying that, we would have done things like supporting online access, helping persons and training persons to get on to the government platforms, the e-platforms that is so critical these days. There's inclusiveness that is supporting the differently abled and the low-income persons, as mentioned. And then, of course, there's a promotion of transparency and accountability. So what I mean by that is that we solicit, for example, from the public project proposals. We don't write them, we don't develop them ourselves. So it's coming from the people, for the people. Yes, we have strict deadlines with contribution from the service providers. And also we have an overall efficient fund management that is within the USFO.
Well, the two of you are dedicated to it, so I
That's
would
right.
imagine how strict your mechanism is for that project. Okay, thanks very much for that overview of the USF and why people should really care because of these 17 projects that you've implemented for them. So that's good to hear. So you mentioned a bit on it, but let's go into it a bit some more. I'm curious, how does the USF help everyday St. Lucians, whether it be the fishermen, students, the vulnerable people in rural areas, get better internet access?
Well, as you know, we play a very significant role in improving the internet access for everyday St. Lucians. The evidence provided before can say it all. When it comes to the students, over the years, we would have done, we were provided e-books and MiFi devices. And that was a significant project because it came in a time when we were, when we had to deal with the COVID situation. So it is one of our COVID responses that we had put out there, where a number of devices were sent to students in various schools and accompanied by the MiFi devices so that they can have adequate connectivity, which was an issue at the time. In going forward, there was the libraries and community access centers. And then, of course, we were targeting students. We were hoping that they use these facilities to engage in their learning activities as well. We had in one of our earlier projects, the Babuno Library project, which not only served the Babuno Library and the surrounding schools in that area, but the community as a whole. So we targeted the school next door, the secondary school, the Babuno Primary School, the Babuno Secondary School. They utilized that project a lot, even though it was housed at the library. Quite fitting because a lot of them use the library as their base point. And then there is the ICT training, which Latoya will, Ms. Cassius will speak about again later on, which targeted students along the years. And when it comes to the vulnerable groups, we had a number of projects. The vulnerable is very dear to us, the differently able. We really don't want to leave them out. Inclusiveness, digital inclusiveness is really our strong point here. The differently able project, it involved the 6 institutions dealing with the differently able. Now it's closed right now, but at the time we provided specialized equipment, internet connectivity to these groups, to these institutions. And then there is the NCPD, the National Council for Persons with Disability. It is ongoing, and yes, and the Kareli location is what is benefit from this project as we speak.
Through internet connectivity?
Through internet connectivity,
okay.
Yes. And talking about vulnerable groups, the Boys Training Center, the Uptown Garden Girls, youths with issues with the law, vulnerable situations. So one of our main projects, 2 main projects there. And the Holy Family Children's Home. It was a very small project, but providing internet to that institution said a lot because of the young kids without a home. So, they're at school. So, of course, you wanted them to be a part of the digital inclusiveness as well. And in terms of rural communities, we have a number of community projects, very large projects. Most recently was our Marsha Playing Fields project. Yes, not just the playing fields, but the wider community, the environments of the playing field.
I'm curious, how does that work? If you go to the playing field at any given time, you can have internet access, or if there's an event there, how does it work, Sandra?
Well, at any given time, because it's open. It's the whole idea is to serve the community as well, the wider community, the environment. So it's not like it's going to be closed off and only there's a cricket match and it's going to be it's to serve the community. Yes. This project came when we were making preparation for the ICC cricket.
Okay.
Yes, so it came just in time. And then, of course, there is a very large project in the Soufrière community. This is our second project, actually. One of our very first project we targeted the Soufrière community. This time around, we went bigger, more communities. We have 28 access points.
In Soufrière?
That's right.
Wow.
We presently have, what we're going to do, we normally label our projects to show that, we're here,
Yes.
we're here to serve you. So we're presently planning to go to the various communities, look for a specific area, a place where we can place our,
Like a plaque or
our plaque
something.
to say like the NTRC USF
Yes.
did this for you. Yes. And then there is the Cash-Free Southeast project. The Cash-Free Southeast project, these are communities like the Mon, Liberty Park, Sarod Courts, Bexar, Bel Air, Hoolitown, Daycare, and environs. So we've also dealt with the Cash-Free Southeast community. And of course, the NSDC, all locations of the NSDC, which provide, this institution provide training, as you know. So they're located in 4 communities in Saint Lucia. And last but not least, of course, I mentioned before, payphones, which we have 15 of that throughout the country. So yes, so we're there. We're the rural communities. We have covered all groups within Saint Lucia.
Okay, I was going to ask you what you've done to improve internet access in these underserved communities, but you believe you just answered that, so we can continue.
Yes.
Does the USF offer any programs to help people who can't afford internet service or digital devices? I believe I've had guests on from NTRC Dominica specifically and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and I believe they have like a program where they subsidize internet. Does the NTRC have a similar project?
Yes, we are presently working on that.
Okay.
Yes, and our first group and main focus at this time is to include the differently abled students. So why? Because this project closed a few years ago, but we always have to keep looking out for them. So the actual project that we funded a few years ago was not resubmitted, but we thought, let's do something for this special group. So we're looking at a home subsidy, internet subsidy program. We are presently in talks with the Ministry of Equity, and hopefully we should have this project rolling by, well, our target was April, so hope sometime maybe the middle or the end of April. Okay. But presently we have all the information from the schools and everything, so this is something that we're really looking forward to, a home internet subsidy program for the differently abled.
And then based on how that goes, I guess as a pilot, then you could then
let
it grow.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
And in terms of providing programs to help the community, I can't forget our smart bus shelter. Yes. So it's playing that critical role. So whereas it may not be in your community, but it's internet access on your way to your community.
Tell the people where this is located for those who don't know.
So for those who don't know, it is at the Shock roundabout. It is right opposite the Massey Mega, yes. And this project is, the proposer is planning to expand this project. So we'll see more and more smart bus shelters, hopefully coming up in the next few years.
Do you have a lot of people utilizing it?
Oh, a lot, because we have a monitoring feature. And every now and again, we go on to a Meraki system. We look at, how many persons would have, there are peak periods. The weekends are usually peak. Oh, wow. I guess people, they're moving around a lot.
Spot too.
Could be, and maybe they're not at work. They're just on a free day. So it is going very well. It actually started off as a project, as a pilot. And a pilot in our case were started as a 1-year project, and we just recently extended it for another 1.5 years, awaiting the submission of more of related projects like that. So it is a very good project.
Yes, it would be good to see smart bus shelters in other communities. So I'm looking forward to that.
Same as well.
Okay. So another question for you, Sandra, before I move on to Natoya.
Yes.
How does the USF ensure that St. Lucians get high quality service from telecom providers, especially in areas where there's poor coverage?
So we have multiple strategies in place. Very importantly is our regulatory framework. And by saying that, we have the providers, there are mandate for the providers, the service providers, and they are required to be compliant at all times, and there are technical benchmark for their networks. So in terms of call drop rates and speed, data speed, and so we have a monitoring system. We have a complaints and enforcement system in place, and also a complaint form which the public can access to, air their concerns, send to us issues which we take up with the service providers on their behalf. So that's one of the main things that we do on a general basis via the NTRC, who manages the USF funds, USF Fund Office. And then there is the expansion of our infrastructure, and that is via our USF projects. So by placing numerous community access points, expanding our zones, as I said, most recently 28 locations in Soufrière, and and those are initiatives directly geared towards the underserved areas and ensuring they have adequate coverage. I mentioned the smart bus shelter. That's another way of providing high quality. And then there's the consumer education and engagement, which is very important. So yes, we want to provide high quality, but we have to let the people understand what is it that we're doing. And with public education and engagement, most recently, some time ago, we had about maybe 2 events called Meet, Greet, and Speak. What is happening there at these events is that we have the service providers present, you have the NTRC, you have the public. It is the forum where they can air their concerns and get immediate response from the service providers and the NTRC.
What's the feedback been like that so far?
Very good, very good. People show up,
and
people have burning
okay
stuff that they, so they speak. Actually, they speak a lot. Yes,
okay, good.
It's very, very effective.
Okay.
And then, of course, we have a number of that. Maybe, especially last year, coming into this year, we have a number of public awareness campaigns. So we would go to various communities. Soufrière, we've been to Rodney Bay. We've been to the square in town, various locations, with our pamphlets or any kind of information that you want to find out about NTRC and USF. So just getting it out there in the public. Yes. Our complaint procedure, most importantly, what they should do in order to address their issues when they do have it.
You want to share a bit about that, the complaint procedure?
In terms of the complaints, focusing mainly on the Universal Service Fund. If there's a project in your community and for some reason the internet is down or there's some difficulty there, you would email us or go through your rep.
Yeah.
For certain communities or institutions, there is a rep representing that part of it. And they would then fill out our complaint form, which is then sent to us, and we will rectify the issue with the provider.
Sure.
Generally, the provider gets back to us within about a week, resolve the issue. Sometimes less than that, so it's pretty effective.
Okay.
Yeah.
And last,
Thanks for that,
last but not least, there is the monitoring and the compliance aspect of what we do in order to ensure high quality at all times. So over the 5-year period, once a project is subsidized and started, implemented, the project owners we have physical monitoring of the project, and we also have online monitoring of it. They come to us, as I said, and we have our faults and issue reporting forms that they fill out if there is a drop in the internet and so. So that's one of the ways that we ensure that we continuously providing a good service to them.
Thanks so much, Sandra.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to hop over to you now, Natalia.
Yes.
And I want you to walk us through the process, the application process for someone who might want to access the USF, whether it's a business or a community group, and who is eligible to submit to this application.
Right. So first of all, we generally send out notices via public awareness campaigns so that persons know it's okay to send in a proposal. Now, generally, if somebody wants to send in an application, Yes, almost anyone can send in an application. However, you would have to have some sort of structure in place. So is it on behalf of a community center, a community, but there's supposed to be a certain structure where the people will access the internet. So based on that, anybody can send in a proposal, but just note that there is a criteria
Right.
that comes along with it. Now, once you send in your proposal, we would review. If you're missing any documentation or any information, we would liaise with you and assist you in completing the form. And once it's complete, it goes through another internal criteria where we bring it to our board. And once that's approved, then we'll liaise with you to come in for a post-submission meeting to just generally get a feel of what it is you want to do. And thereafter, that project would now go out to be bidded on by providers. So in terms of service, we will have our main providers in the market, which is, as you know, Flow and Digicel. And that process takes a few months because we have a series of processes that goes along. So there's a bid opening, a bid submission, evaluation, and whatnot. So once that's in place and we announce the winner, your project is good to go. But in terms of applying for it, I suggest that persons contact us or go on our website where you can find the application form. Or email us and we will send it to you. We will assist you in any way you can.
Okay, I'm curious, is it all throughout the year persons would submit application, or
Yes.
is there like a period? So just anytime throughout the year?
Anytime.
Okay.
So there's no
Deadline.
deadline, set break, anything. Yeah.
And I recall some time ago, you have consultations in communities to walk people through the
Yes,
process
yes.
and make them aware. So at no point in time, persons are, confused because you're there to sort of hold their hand. So I've seen that.
Yes, so we went around the communities, we had Sufre, Castries, Brazile, Miku, just so we let persons know, okay, we're here, we can assist you. All we need is you to be interested and just come find out what's the criteria and what you need to do, and we're here.
Do you think that enough persons are taking up the NTRC USF office on this, or do you think more persons could submit projects based on the funds you have available?
I think more persons can submit. I know sometimes the form might be daunting. However, that was one of the reasons why we even established having the workshops for persons. So just to let people know, we're here to help you. So come and see if you meet the criteria.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Natoya. Are there any upcoming free digital training programs? I noticed the emphasis on free or technology initiatives funded by the USF that people can take advantage of?
Certainly. So right now we'll be having what you call our Booga Tech training, which is on April 10th and 11th at the National ICT office in Castries. So it's a 2-day training and registration is now open. The link is available on our Facebook page, which is ntrc.lc. That's the actual name. And just click on the link, fill in the form, and the submission is right away.
Okay, is there like an age group for the men to participate?
We're looking at 16 to 25. However, we're open if there's somebody who's a little older who would like to attend. We're open to that since we still have room.
Okay.
Additionally, we have our Girls in ICT program, which is coming up on the 24th and 25th of April. 24th will be held at the Orchid Gardens in Union, and the 25th will be at the Viewport ICD Center. So we're catering to the North and the South. And yes, it's free. I know what free.
Okay, thank you. So we have men in ICT and then girls in ICT, so to speak, both happening in April. I like how you've included the men because I sometimes notice the comments online when you post about girls in ICT, and I know that was a direct response to that. So well done to you for that, NTRC, USF specifically. All right, so can you share a success story of how the USF has changed someone's life or probably helped a community in an extraordinary way?
Well, yes. So I will mention our differently abled project, which Ms. Jones touched on earlier. And we cater to persons who are differently abled. So they have a lot more, I would say, difficulty in navigating the telecommunication space. And so they would have specialized devices that are necessary for them to do just the basics that we take for granted sometimes. So in that, I would say we definitely touched lives and created room for those persons. And so that may have been one of our top priorities. Another aspect we had was the senior tech program, which catered to persons 56 and up. And so we had a training program last year. We actually had three sets of programs for them. Two will be in Castries back to back, and one in the south. And these persons were so ecstatic just to be part of, telecoms. And for persons that age range, sometimes technology is so daunting, And they took it in stride. And if you maybe look at some of our feedback online, they were very happy. The facilitator was quite surprised how much they were appreciative of that program. And recently we gave them the certifications, and let me tell you, the smiles were from ear to ear. And so that was quite impactful as well.
Yeah, I saw that one on social media, and it was very impressive, and a number of people who showed up. Are there plans to continue it, or was it like a one-off thing?
Certainly. We haven't quite set a date as yet, but we will continue that program.
Excellent. It's needed, so well done. All right. So what are some of the exciting new projects the USF is working on to ensure more Saint Lucians stay connected in the future?
Well, project-wise, I know Sandra's recently spoke on our master project and our project, and we have the NSDC project, which is they're all in the pipeline at this moment. And for our initiatives, yes, we have the Girls in ICT Bukatech happening in April, but come summer, we will be having our summer tech. Now, more information will be provided at a later date. However, we always keep the students in mind during the summer, and just so persons know to keep on our Facebook page, we will be posting any updates. So that is pretty exciting right now.
The summer program is for how long typically? A week?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. So last year, 3 weeks straight. But this year we may change how or the manner in which we do it. We're not quite sure yet. But we're in the planning stages.
Yes.
But just know that the students will be catered to, so keep your eyes
open. And this is free of charge as well? The children don't have to pay, or is there like a small registration fee?
It has been free of charge for the past couple of years. We may put a little charge to it. Nothing to bawl about, but just a little charge. Minimal.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned a few times about your Facebook and your website and so on. Can you actually tell us the handles for your social media and what your website is?
Yes. So our Facebook page is ntrc.lc.
That is the actual ntrc.lc.
Yeah. Okay. Our Facebook, our website is as well www.ntrc.lc.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're on Instagram too, aren't you?
We are on Instagram,
but mostly Facebook is where you go for more information.
Very frequent, yeah.
Okay. So any closing remarks from both of you?
Well, I would certainly like to say to the public that you really keep on our Facebook page, because you are missing out if you're not up to date there. You come see how USF is really trying to assist the public and get information to you and get programs to you. Just build yourself as a nation. So I would really appreciate it if you take a look.
Yeah, and if they have a project in mind, you should not feel timid. We're here to help. We're here to answer your questions, to walk you through the process. And also, we do not have a costing limit. Persons ask that question a lot. We just ensure that, we will look at what you're doing. If the cost, if it makes sense, if it's something that's within our mandate, then we're willing to work with you and get it out there.
So if somebody approaches you with a project that might cost $2 million.
Oh, we'll consider it.
Oh, All right.
Anything is up for consideration.
Consideration. We're not gonna just throw it away
Yes, yes.
because
We
we
have to
see,
meet the criteria.
when we look, we see cost there, we're gonna look at it.
Meet the criteria.
Meet the criteria, that's right.
Okay, thank you so much, ladies,
You're
for being our
welcome.
guests
Welcome.
on
Mhm.
episode 30 of ECTEL
Mhm.
Bytes. And of course, we look forward to you coming back on at any time to share the exciting projects you are doing through the USF or the NTRC.
Sure.
So in case you joined us late, our very special guests were Ms. Sandra Jones, the Universal Service Fund Administrator at the NTRC in Saint Lucia, and Ms. Natoya Cassius, Universal Service Fund Office Project Assistant. Yes. So they shared with us quite a bit of information about the accomplishments of the NTRC through the USF, as well as some of their upcoming projects to ensure that a wide cross-section of people in St. Lucia are not left behind in this digital area. You heard about the Bugatech, the Girls in ICT, both coming up in April. They're hoping to again host the Senior Tech Program. They're hoping to do a program in the summertime for young people, so nobody can say that they're not familiar with how to utilize the gadget, because the NTRC, they're ensuring that no group of people, be left behind. So very good, and kudos to them. So if you have any questions at all, be sure to leave them in the comment section below, and you'll be sure to reply. I'm sure Natoya or Sandra will be happy to respond to your questions. And apart from being on our Facebook page, the recording of ECTEL Bytes will also be on our YouTube channel, which is @ECTEL. It will be on Instagram, LinkedIn, and X, which is @ECTEL Authority, and of course, on our website, www.ectel.int. So be sure to share with your contacts who may not be on Facebook. So that's it for episode 30 of ECTEL Bytes. Thanks again for joining us, and we hope to see you again virtually. I'm your host, Coretta Cooks-Charles, ECTEL's Communications and Media Relations Manager. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, do take care and keep safe.